Not long ago, I was privileged to have a pastoral visit in Egypt, and it happened, they have a different liturgical calendar than we do. But while I was visiting in some rural villages, it happened to be the feast, the great feast of Epiphany. And here I was invited to be a guest concelebrant in the Coptic rite. I'm not familiar at all with that rite, but they made me feel very, very comfortable. But let me give you the setting. This is basically someone's house, which is used as a church. It's very humble. It was packed, maybe 50, 60 people. As is their custom, the men were on one side, the women on the other, and the adorable children were in the front. Now, the ceremony lasted 4 hours, but I have to tell you, the children were amazing. They were attentive, and I had 2 little servers attending to me. And there was more incense than I've ever seen, but the whole flavor of devotion, of adoration, was something that I'll never forget. Here are these people living in really crude conditions, but when they come together to worship as believers, these Coptic Catholics, they're in a whole different zone. And it's humbling because, here we are preparing for Easter. And I think sometimes we go through motions. Yes, our liturgies are beautiful. These are the great liturgies in the church year. But we sort of get into, a little bit of the wrong kind of rhythm. That's what these people reminded me of. Everything about it. In fact, the priest, who's like the town pastor, even said to me, "Monsignor, it's going to probably last 4 hours." And I said, "Oh, that's all right." Of course, that's quite unusual by our standards. But it only reminds me in a graphic way how faith is at the core of living for these people. And all of this in the context of violence that surrounds these Christians. A few years ago, with the change of government, 50-some properties were destroyed. I've even visited sisters, religious sisters in the care of orphans. Their entire facility was bombed, burned down, and Kanewa has helped them to restore just a little portion of a living space for them and their orphans, and they're still being protected by military because there is still violence. But you don't hear them, they don't highlight the violence. They highlight, as is indicated with the cross that they all bear, they highlight their faith in Christ. And a priest, this was another, I love this, a priest showed me at this very same church, for 50 years they weren't allowed to build any new churches or weren't allowed to renovate. So they had to secretly celebrate liturgy, sort of like the old Soviet Union. And he showed me what looked like a little desk actually folded up, and out came a little altar. And when they would have somebody looking outside, when the police were nearby, he would shift the altar back up and flip down what looked like a desk. So they had to be discreet, but nothing ever compromised their willingness to celebrate their belief in Christ. So for me, that's a very humbling experience. So I hope that maybe as you come into this holiest of seasons, you'll step back and say how blessed we are to be able to celebrate Christ amongst us.